Hello there, I'm AE, and this is Argentan Crossroads by White Flash Reborn. This is how it looked in Company of Heroes 1, and this is how it looked in Company of Heroes 2. How it looks, rather, and it's looking pretty nice, you must say. Let's have a quick overview of how the map is, how it's constructed, to hopefully give new players a little bit of an insight into it. These circular things here are, by the way, the victory points. Right, in general, this is of course a crossroads map. So there you go, there's one road and there's the other. It's got four major cut-offs and then what I'd like to call the roundabout victory points central keystone cut-off, as it's now does in Company of Heroes 2. In Company of Heroes 1, the cut-offs did intersect each other. So let's talk about it in Company of Heroes 2 because that is arguably more relevant for most of the people that are going to be watching this video. So you start either in the south or the north. In the south, I believe, by the way, it is intended that indeed the axis are starting in the north. But anyway, in the south, to your east, you've got high munitions at the very south, and then far east, you've got the fuel. These points are known as, oh, hang on, let me zoom in a little bit, the lumber yard to the east. So there's a victory point, there's fuel, and there's a high munitions. This is all cut-offable via this cut-off here, the southern cut-off. For the northern player, to their west, you've got the graveyard, the victory point here, and high munitions, high fuel. This is cut-offable, again, using this northern cut-off. If the players were to try and push for territory that is arguably a little bit closer to their enemy's base, so that would be the southern player going for the graveyard, fuel and munitions. These horizontal cut-offs, the western cut-off, or for the northern player, the eastern cut-off, then come into effect. And it's a really nice layout as to how the cut-offs work. The second most prominent feature of the map is the strong houses around the central portion of the map. You can imagine that if all these four cut-offs are so close to the centre, that these houses then become extremely prominent and very useful. So usually it's axis that has north, and that would entail the axis player using their MGs to try and control the central point, and perhaps, getting a half track to reinforce and really try and dominate the centre because the cut-offs are all quite close to the centre. For the Allies player, you've got this strong house here, very strong house indeed, with plenty of windows to shoot from. But to give it some parity, there is this large green wall here that you can position troops behind to attack it. So let's venture west slightly. The graveyard is again a little bit of an open area. There's plenty of avenues for lines of sight through here, and you can, protect this area with MGs if you're the northern axis player quite well. And the second most prominent area is, of course, the lumberyard, which is looking fantastic. Okay, the next portion of this video is now going to be a comparison between it in Company of Heroes 1 and in Company of Heroes 2. So the lumberyard has changed drastically, you'll notice. As before, it was mostly just planks of wood lined up to each other. Now these planks of wood have grown sizably thanks to this giant crane. So, by the way, this is the victory point we're meant to be talking about. I had to use an annihilate function in cheat commands to get this to work properly. Let's compare the northern graveyard now. In Company of Heroes 1, it looked rather like this. You'll notice somewhat of a grain elevator there, and just north of it, it's like a farmyard building watching over it. Lots of green cover graves to sit behind, and in the centre, there's some wreckages. And I'd like to compliment White Flash on making it look a hell of a lot better in Company of Heroes 2. It looks lovely now, you must say. Lots of nice little intricacies and features added to the graveyard, or the cemetery even, if you want to call it that. In terms of the houses in the centre, these have gone through a lot of iterative changes. Previously it was two strong houses facing off against each other, allowing the northern player somewhat of an advantage at times, given that the northern axis player could just sit an MG in this house, and then they've got this large shot blocker, so they can just focus their cone of sight here and just try and protect the flank here, and they can pretty much dominate the centre. Now let me talk about why I believe that this map is an excellent candidate to finally be put into automatch. It's had, as I previously mentioned, iterative testing. What I'm opening up for you now is the history of Argentan Crossroads. The evolution of Argentan Crossroads, an article on GameReplays.org, which was the Company Heroes 1 dominant fan site. You'll notice here, this is just talking about the Crossroads itself. Just look at the iterative changes over time, how it's evolved. And even in Company Heroes 2, when the map first came to Company Heroes 2, he made more changes. In fact, this northern house became too prominent in some players' opinions, so he's now changed it to how it stands now, the Central Crossroads. So it's gone through lots of iterations, also through use of tournaments. This is the WMD Invitational 4. It was prominently used in the semi-finals here. It was also used in SNF 4 with Beau de Châtelet, I believe it's pronounced, which has now become Crossing in the Woods. And in my opinion, Argentan Crossroads was always arguably a little bit more favoured than Beau de Châtelet. So Argentan's is now lagging behind by a year over its brother map by a fellow mapper. The other one got featured first, and this one's been lagging behind, unfortunately. Let me also talk about the map as it stands now. It's been used in a very prominent game on my finals stream for FlexiTime Championship 4. Some great games between Aspag and Redbeard. A best of 3 went all the way to the decider, and you can find the link to that cast in the description if you want to see how it plays in competitive play. But as I said, because it's had iterative changing, because it's such a beautiful map, and because it plays really well, the general feedback and consensus for this map is fantastic. I think we should finally be pushing Relic to hopefully include this map very soon in automatch. Wouldn't it be cracking if they could manage to get it in time for the December changes and the December patch. Thank you for watching at this point. Be on the lookout for more content from me this weekend, possibly a strategic Zoomcast and also the wrap-up post to the tournament finals. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.